Well, welcome to the Massage Heights podcast, where this week's guest is Knecht. Welcome, Nate.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
I'm glad to have you. For our listeners today, I just wanted to mention real quick, you have one retreat in Rancho Pensaquitos, which is in the San Diego market of California.
Mm-hmm.
You were the winner of 4 major awards at our convention this last fall. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And in the last 12 months, your store volume has been about $1.4 million. So those are some good reasons for our listeners to listen to you on the next podcast.
Well, I hope I can help them any way I can.
Well, I'm so excited to have you, and I'm so excited that you've just seen a big increase in your business. And I want to talk about how that's kind of come about and what you think the pillars of that success have been this last 12 months. Sure. And so we'll get into that. But let's start with just some real fun kind of background information about you, just so our franchise partners and key operators know a little bit about you. Tell me about your background, what you did before Massage Heights.
Well, immediately before Massage Heights, I was the owner-operator of a Chick-fil-A franchise in San Diego as well. Did that for 3 years. Prior to that, I was a dentist, so I have a weird journey to get here. But it all makes sense. I can give you the details as to how I ended up here. But that ties into, my massage journey was, dentistry was my initial goal in life to be a dentist for 30, 40 years. And that kind of lasted about 10. What happened there was I started seeing a massage therapist at a chiropractic office to alleviate some just neck and back pain. As a dentist, you're not working in a very normal posture. And so that led me to my first introduction to massage. I mean, I never had one.
That was your first?
My very first one.
Okay.
Probably 28, 29 years old. I'm from Kansas, a small little town in Kansas. We didn't have massage in Kansas. I mean, it wasn't even back in the 80s and 90s. That wasn't even a word, in my vocabulary.
Yeah. So definitely wasn't as mainstream as it is today. And surely in that market, I'm sure it really wasn't.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of the backstory. I saw a therapist, and I could not believe how I had not had a massage before that for, the 28 years prior. And that kind of changed my mindset towards the holistic health practitioner.
You recognize the real benefit. So you had that back pain, probably neck pain from the way that you would lean into your patients on a daily basis, and you saw the benefit, I guess, in that.
Immediately, yeah. I mean, immediately, it prolonged my career, probably another 8-9 years. So after leaving dentistry, due to my neck and back, I have some things that I can't correct fully with massage, but sure. I can certainly, treat it, enough to where I can kind of get by. Mm-hmm. I looked at franchising at that point. I wanted to be a businessman. I didn't want to leave small business. That's kind of in my DNA. So we looked around at all kinds of options, and because it was my first, adventure into franchising, I kind of want to go the low risk route. Mm-hmm. So that led me to Chick-fil-A, because Chick-fil-A has a great value system that I love.
Yes.
And I love their company, their culture, their founder, and I had done a lot of research on them. So I knew that the method of entering Chick-fil-A was very unique, and there was a lot of there was actually no cash outlay, very little. And so I thought that would be a neat route to go. And I did that. And I somehow or another, a year later, was in a Chick-fil-A running it, opening the store. Yeah. One of the first ones in San Diego. It was only the 4th or 5th, I think, in San Diego.
Oh, wow.
And
really?
So that is how I ended up in Chick-fil-A, and did that for 3 years. Didn't want to be in fast food forever. I kind of learned my how to run a business in Chick-fil-A.
I bet you learned a lot about running a business with them, because it's a different franchise model. It's not the kind of common franchise model that you see like with Massage Heights or most brands that are out there, right? It's kind of almost a owner operator earned equity kind of thing, isn't it?
It is. It's different. It's I mean, let's put it this way. You're not truly an owner. Not, in fact, even during the interview process, they even told me, they said, if you're a true entrepreneur, this is not for you because you're not truly an owner. You don't ever have equity in the company. You're always going to be given everything you have back to the company when your time is done with them.
Sure.
So you own your business while you're with them.
And so you hope to do a really good job, produce well, that you get some sort of income out of that because you've done a great job. But they're really helping you, as I understand it, with managing your payroll costs and all of your costs in general, right? So you probably did learn a lot from them, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know what a P&L much was. I mean, as a dentist, I kind of got by without, doing P&Ls too often.
Yeah.
But
you're like, I'm making money. I'm not making money.
It's like it was very fuzzy numbers. Chick-fil-A, you'd have no option. You have to, every month, every penny has to line up.
Yeah.
And
well, restaurant business is hard too because of the spoilage and right, like they just controlling food costs and all that. I'm sure you have to be very, very, very diligent.
Very much so. Yeah. In fact, it becomes almost an obsession to watch every every line item. You walk in there and we have people tasked with watching certain things and making sure that the numbers stay within a certain range. And it's a challenge. It's almost like being a football coach. You kind of feel like you have a team and you have everybody has their duties and you're there just to really crack the whip and make sure that you stay on track because your margins are so thin. Very, very thin. So you can't accidentally get a number wrong or anything. Your labor is really, really big there as well. So how would you say what you learned there, and even with your business, your dentistry business, but maybe Chick-fil-A specifically because you got so much business experience, how do you think that has translated into your Massage Heights business? What skills do you think you learned there that have translated in to help you? The people part. Yeah. People part, but it's more of the order of how to arrange your affairs, I guess, in terms of getting things in line so that before you market, you have to have the operations right. Before you have the operations, you need to have the staffing right. Kind of the ordering of your initial 12 months to make sure that at the end of 12 months, you're set up to crank it into high gear. Yeah. And I feel like I learned that through trial and error and through, I got some things right, but I learned a lot of lessons along the way as to how to not get the cart before the horse. Yeah. There's a lot of moving parts in Chick-fil-A that, thank God, they don't have that many parts in Massage Heights. Sure, yeah. Really, we're chopping off the entire back end of the restaurant and just focusing on people at Massage Heights. It's really just people, very little inventory. I think that's an interesting point. I know that we're kind of skipping ahead here, but I hate to not discuss that a little bit because restaurant business and many businesses are much more complex if you've got a lot of inventory, especially when it comes to food and that sort of thing. And here, to your point, our business is really all about the people and our product is our people. And so having a focus on our people, the culture, having a very, very deliberate focus on recruitment and retention and all of that, I think is simple. It's complex because it's people, but all businesses are, right? But it's a simple model in the sense that you've got just that one thing really that you need to kind of focus on. It really is the perfect franchise for the peoplepreneur or the people who like people, right? I love that, peoplepreneur. Well, I did not coin that. That was told to me a couple of years ago, but I feel like if your strength is people, Massage Heights is the perfect place for you. If your strength is numbers and counting food, that's Chick-fil-A. And my strength is more in the people. So I knew right away when I was looking at transitioning out of Chick-fil-A that I was not going to be in a 7-Eleven or an AutoZone. I was going to be in something that had people as the product. And that was going to be my sweet spot. And you just know what you know. Your personality is what it is. So I kind of knew right away it was going to be massage because I mentioned earlier my experience with massage had kind of opened my eyes to this industry. And so it was a matter of which of the many companies that are out there are going to be the one I choose. Sure. And I did a lot of research on all the different competitors. And the one that stuck out that looked the most like Chick-fil-A in terms of culture and values was Massage Heights. That's why I selected Massage Heights.
Yeah.
And that was, I remember meeting you
Yeah.
at the Discovery Day and kind of asking some questions that may have been a little bit left field, but I was looking for the culture part. I was trying to find out, was this culture one that I could fit in?
Yeah. Oh, I remember it very vividly, and remembering thinking, wow, what a great potential alignment, that we had, and feeling that we were so well aligned from a cultural
Definitely.
perspective.
I feel that even more today than I did then. I was kind of rolling the dice because I think I'd seen you once on Undercover Boss.
Mm-hmm.
And, you can tell somebody's genuine, even if it's on a TV show, you can tell somebody's genuine. And I knew that this family business that had become big was one that was genuine and authentic, just like the core values that you have. But I could tell that even during Discovery Day, and I just knew, my antenna went up and I just knew it was the right fit. And, as I've gotten to know the company more over the last 3.5 years, it's become more evident that I made the right choice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely in the right place. I've never been happier in any kind of, in any business endeavor I've ever done. And even more so, even locally, my team, I feel like I'm at the point where I'm almost at that sweet spot where I love my team. Like I've never had a better team. So it's really neat. So from the top down, I love how engaged you are and how accessible you are and how you do care about the culture and the values and vision. So I think that's long and short. That's why I love Massage Heights. There are challenges, of course. Of course. There's nothing easy about having 50 people, or 45 people, all with different personalities.
Sure.
But that part, I guess that's the part that I'm hardwired for anyway. So I enjoy that challenge.
Mm-hmm.
But
the people aspect of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just, I think one of the questions I asked you was, is this a company that you, as a family, see selling to go public?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer you gave was pretty honest. It was like, we don't plan on that.
Yeah.
And so I needed to hear that because I really feel like you lose the culture once it goes public. You lose that connection. Yeah. And so, and I think, I think I've just over time just grown to love it even more. So
yeah, we really do want to create a sustainable legacy brand. That's really what our goal is, And I think in order to do that, it really does go back to people and bringing franchise partners in that are aligned with our company values and that family culture is super critical because we're our team members really care about the work that they do. And we're doing something very purposeful. And I think everybody ultimately cares about the work that they do, but we're unique in the sense of, therapists get into the business of massage therapy because they really care about helping other people live their lives better, relieve pain and stress and so on and so forth. And that it's a unique dynamic. It's different than managing a bunch of salespeople, And so I think that bringing that family values culture into the local retreat level is super, super important in helping us to recruit and retain the people who really ultimately take care of our guests and members every day. And so creating that solid foundation of culture is important. And it takes time. It takes years to really develop it. Chick-fil-A has what they have because they've been going at it for years and years and years and refining it.
Oh, yeah. They started in late 60s. It wasn't until 20 years ago that everybody knew Chick-fil-A.
Sure.
That tells you how long it takes to build culture.
Yes.
It doesn't happen overnight. It's like a little incubator egg. You wait for it to hatch, but you have to nurture it all the way through, and then all of a sudden you have culture, but all the way, really, you were trying to create it. So I feel like we're only, 15 years into Massage Heights,
Yep.
It's the culture's, it's still in its early stages, but it's there. It's still there. To get it to the point where Chick-fil-A has it, it's it takes time.
Yeah, consistency, deliberate execution of and recognizing of the values and all of that. So speaking of values, what is your favorite Massage Heights value? Do you have one? And
It is easy one. That's an easy question because it's loyalty.
loyalty.
Loyalty is it's one of my favorite qualities in any human being. It's very old fashioned, which I guess I am. Maybe I'm a little traditionalist, but it's also rare. I don't see that in very many. I don't see that quality in everyone, and there's also a practical point there. I mean, loyalty is retention, and retention is loyalty. So
It's true.
it's really a quality that I don't think you learn it. I think you kind of just are. Maybe you do learn it early on, but I think it's good parenting. It's something you don't find in a lot of employees. So when I see somebody who's loyal and you start to notice that over time and they just are always stepping up and they're passionate about the brand, and those are the people that I elevate in the store. And because I know they're going to be with me and I can coach them and I can raise them up to a different level. It does take time to find out if that truly is the case. But once you know they've been with you, and you just kind of, you don't want to waste time on those who are just going to be transient. So
Sure.
But I love all the other qualities. I mean, I love authenticity. I love diligence. I love the passion. I love all the qualities that we have as our four. But loyalty is my favorite.
Oh, I can understand why. And to your point, I mean, you build, I think, a loyal team member base and customer base based on how you give back to them. And you're doing that every day in your retreats. There are things that you're doing that are helping with retention of team members and your guests and members. What is your favorite brand outside of Massage Heights?
I was going to say, that's it.
And what is it about that brand that makes it special to you?
Okay. Outside of Massage Heights, that's being the key qualifier there. I'm going to pick, there's three that come to mind, but and I've already mentioned Chick-fil-A, so I'm going to go away from that one right now, even though they are up there, top three.
Yep.
I'm going to say I really like the Ritz-Carlton.
Yes.
And I love them, not because I stay there a lot. I don't have that budget, but although I have stayed there before, but I like I like the way they've done business and created their culture, and their service really is their product. It is their culture.
Yeah. And
so many things have been borrowed from them, and other businesses, other franchises have borrowed from the Ritz. I mean, Chick-fil-A, the story is they took the My Pleasure from the Ritz. I don't know if that's true because I've heard other rumors, but other stories behind that, but it would make sense. But now you hear the word My Pleasure, you don't think of the Ritz anymore. It's sad.
Yeah.
But they do use that phrasing there. Everything is scripted. Everything is detailed. I mean, it's Walt Disney-like. I mean, the way they put the details in their service, it's crazy. So just the way you can build a brand that is just committed to customer service. And I can't think of one person who would ever give them look at them and say, that's not a good brand.
Yeah. I think they really give their team members the autonomy to take care of guests too when there's an issue. I've heard that every team member has some sort of budget really to just make it right for the guest.
They do. They've actually, when I was there for a training once, and somebody actually had their tires changed on the house. Ritz-Carlton paid for it because they had a flat. Somebody came out, took their car away, came back 4 new tires. So they have a budget. I don't know how that works behind the scenes on the B&L, but they have a budget that they give. And I think that's actually one thing that is important. And employees do want that autonomy to feel the heck of ownership. And if you give them that, it gives them, it creates ownership in the employee. And so that leads to retention. That leads to buy-in, and
sense of pride that they're able to do the right thing for that customer at the time that it's needed.
Everybody wants to give.
Yeah,
but they don't.
And it's trust.
Yeah,
right? It's trust. Like, I'm trusting you as the business owner to make that decision for our guest or member, and that you're not going to just give things away for no reason, but that you're going to give things away at the right time when it's needed. So
that's exactly right. And I think Massage Heights has the ability to do that, and we do that, and our front desk does do that. Not to maybe the same budget.
Sure.
But you can do things. You can surprise somebody. Surprise and delight, we call it. You just, what happened here? How did I get this free 30-minute upgrade today? It was on the house. Things like that create, you're starting to create a culture now.
Mm-hmm.
You're starting to create that halo effect, they call it, where people are talking about you after they leave. And so those are the things that I think the Ritz they've really set the bar so high that they are the bar,
Well, those are two great brands that you've mentioned, the Ritz as well as Chick-fil-A. Mm-hmm. And I think, if I were to think of any brands, two, those for me would be the same ones, as well as Starbucks and Apple.
Yeah.
And it is all about the surprise and delight. It's the simplicity. It's acknowledging people and just doing the right thing. I think it just comes down to that. One of the things that I say often when I'm in the field or get a chance to talk to team members, you can operationalize everything. You can standardize everything, but you don't need a manual to know how to treat people. Mm-hmm. So I shouldn't, you shouldn't have to go, let me see what the operations manual says here about this thing. Yeah. You should just have the autonomy and just sort of the values enough to know just to do the right thing.
It's so easy, though. You just put yourself in that person's shoes.
Yes.
When I get a Yelp review that's not good, and we don't get a whole lot of them, we do get a few, and it ruins my day. But to me, I'm looking back, I'm like, how could this have happened? Mm-hmm. This is so preventable. Everything in the Yelp review is preventable. This whole incident, it's usually miscommunication or it's lack of empathy.
Yeah.
It's just not thinking. It's not thinking about what the other person's, what they're thinking. So, for example, typically almost all of our negative reviews, I'm not saying we have a lot, but we do have a few, and they're typically in the accounting side of things,
Mm-hmm.
So, again, that's where, the manual may say, well, you're here for 12 months, whether you like it or not.
Right.
But if it's 10 months, come on, figure out a way to make this person's day. And they're going to go back and talk to their friends about you, how great you are.
That's right. Because ultimately what we want them to do is say a good word about us. Mm-hmm. If they need to cancel their membership for some reason, we of course we want to talk them out of it, find out why they're doing it. Mm-hmm. But if it comes down to, again, doing the right thing. And what are they going to say about you when they're gone or when you're gone? Are they going to say to their friends and family, like, I tried to get out of my Massage Heights membership and I couldn't, and this is how or hey, they were really great in working with me. And that's what we want ultimately.
Of course, that's all you want. You want a base that talks about your raving fans.
Yes.
You don't create that by holding their feet to the fire. So
yes, I love that, raving fans. That's I think Tim Hicks's one of his favorite books is Raving Fans.
It's a good book.
Yeah.
I was required reading before with Chick-fil-A. I was reading that book.
Was it?
Well, I think it was required. I required myself to read it. I don't know if it was from Chick-fil-A, but I wanted to read that because I think it was recommended to me because it's a book that most operators in Chick-fil-A read. But it's true. There's a way, if you have, any semblance of a social IQ, there's a way to create raving fans as long as you don't, as long as you put their needs first. You can do it in almost anything, any business. I can't think of any business you couldn't do it in. But you just have to lead with generosity. Always err on generosity. Always err on that side. You'll never go wrong.
I love that. That's awesome. Let's get into your expertise, maybe more operational questions.